A home for Christmas. The first snow of December coated the streets of the small town like a glittering blanket, hiding the cracks in the pavement and muffling the sound of hurried footsteps. People bustled about, laden with bags of gifts, their faces lit with joy and anticipation. But for 7-year-old Liam, the holiday season was just another reminder of what he didn't have. Liam wandered the streets, clutching a tattered blanket around his thin shoulders. His once bright eyes had dimmed over the years, dulled by too many nights spent in cold doorways and too many meals skipped. He had no family, no home, and no one to call his own. But despite his struggles, Liam had a small glimmer of hope buried deep in his heart, a tiny ember that refused to die out. On Christmas Eve, as the evening sky turned a deep indigo, Liam found himself in front of a brightly lit toy store. The display window was filled with wooden trains, stuffed animals, and shiny red sleds. His breath fogged the glass as he stared, imagining what it would be like to hold one of those toys, to have a warm room to play in, and someone to share it with. "Hey there, little one," a gentle voice called from behind him. Startled, Liam turned to see an older woman with kind eyes and a woolen scarf wrapped snugly around her neck. She held a large bag of groceries and looked down at him with a mixture of concern and warmth. "You shouldn't be out here in the cold," she said softly. "Where are your parents?" Liam shrugged, avoiding her gaze. He had long stopped explaining his situation to strangers. Most would offer a few coins or a pitying smile before hurrying away. But this woman didn't leave. Instead, she knelt down to his level, her eyes searching his face. "My name is Clara," she said. "Would you like something warm to eat?" Liam hesitated. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, but trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. Still, there was something about her, a kindness that reminded him of the bedtime stories his mother used to tell before she was gone. He nodded reluctantly. Clara led him to a small cafe down the street. The warmth of the room wrapped around Liam like a soft hug, and the smell of freshly baked bread made his mouth water. Clara ordered a bowl of soup and a sandwich for Liam, watching as he devoured the food with a hunger she could barely imagine. "Do you have anywhere to go tonight?" she asked gently once he had finished. Liam shook his head, his voice barely above a whisper. "No." Clara reached across the table and placed her hand over his small one. "Well, you're coming home with me?" Liam's eyes widened in surprise. He had learned not to expect kindness, especially not from strangers. But Clara's words held a certainty that left no room for doubt. Clara's home was a modest little house on the edge of town, decorated with twinkling lights and a wreath on the door. Inside, it smelled of cinnamon and pine, and a small Christmas tree stood proudly in the corner, adorned with ornaments that seemed to tell stories of years gone by. "This is it," Clara said, setting her bag of groceries on the kitchen counter. "It's not much, but it's warm." For the first time in as long as he could remember, Liam felt safe. Clara showed him to a spare room, where a soft bed waited with a thick quilt folded neatly at the foot. Liam ran his hand over the quilt, marveling at its softness. "You can stay here as long as you need," Clara said from the doorway. That night, as Liam lay in bed, he stared at the ceiling, the weight of his loneliness lifting ever so slightly. For the first time, he dared to dream of a different future. Over the next few days, Clara and Liam settled into a quiet rhythm. Clara didn't press him with questions about his past, but instead focused on the present. She cooked warm meals, showed him how to hang ornaments on the tree, and even taught him how to bake gingerbread cookies. Liam's laughter, shy at first, began to fill the little house, mingling with the crackle of the fireplace and the soft strains of Christmas carols on the radio. On Christmas morning, Liam woke to find a small pile of gifts at the foot of the tree. His heart raced as Clara handed him a brightly wrapped package. Inside was a warm winter coat, followed by a pair of sturdy boots in another box. But it was the final gift that made Liam's eyes well with tears, a small stuffed bear with a blue bow around its neck. "It's yours," Clara said, her voice soft. "Everyone deserves something to hold on to." Liam hugged the bear tightly, his small hands trembling. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Clara knelt beside him, pulling him into a gentle hug. "You're not alone anymore, Liam. Not ever. The days turned into weeks, and Clara began the process of becoming Liam's legal guardian. The small town rallied around them, offering support in ways big and small. Neighbors dropped off toys and clothes, and the local school helped Liam catch up on the lessons he had missed. For the first time in years, Liam began to feel like a normal boy. He went to school, made friends, and even joined the town's winter sledding competition. Through it all, Clara was there, cheering him on, guiding him, and reminding him that he was loved. Years later, as Liam stood in front of a classroom of his own students, he often thought of that Christmas Eve when his life changed forever. He kept the little bear with the blue bow on a shelf in his office, a quiet reminder of Clara's kindness and the love that had given him a second chance. Every Christmas, Liam returned to that small house on the edge of town, where Clara, now older but just as warm and caring, waited with open arms. Together, they celebrated the season not as strangers, but as family. And Liam knew, deep in his heart, that love was the greatest gift of all.